So when you've done about everything there is to do on the mini NES, what is there left to do? How about make your own video game? This is a game called RPG Maker that I used to love years ago, and it's very, very obscure. Didn't really hit off too well in here on the PlayStation 1, but it had quite a community on PCs. And in Japan, this game has been popular for a very long time. But anyways, if you watch my save state video, it sure of shows you how what is there left to do when you've done about everything else there is to do on the mini NES? How about make your own video game? I'm going to start out with RPG Maker, an obscure title on PlayStation 1 that came out a long time ago that was not really a big hit in the United States, but it was really popular in Japan, and it had quite a cult following on PC with RPG Maker 2000 and on. And if you watch my other save state video that I posted, it sure to parlays the way that you could make a game in here and share it with somebody. And if you also notice, I stuck to a method of showing the sizes of the games I have now to make it easier so you know what you're flashing. But we're going to start with RPG Maker here. One of two games that I'm going to show you in this video where you can make your own games. And not only are there some pretty nifty creation tools, but there's a demonstration of the creation tools in action. So first thing I'm going to do is give you a little inside look at the demonstration of the game. So I'm going to go to game. And one thing that's a little bit odd when you play a Japanese game versus an American game, you tend to have the circle button and the X button reversed. So when you're trying to go forward and back, you end up getting mixed up because you're so used to going one direction with the American versions. So we're trying a demonstration where the creation tools are used. And it has a pretty good look to it, like a PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo style, and has the flashy special effects, the battle system. I mean, you can do about anything that you'd want to do. And it pretty much equates to, I mean, you really do get a good sense of how much it truly takes, the grueling process to make your own video game. I've done this before, and it really does take a lot of patience and perseverance, because you could literally play a game for 1 second and it takes you a whole minute of programming a game to get that 1 second of gameplay, or you could spend 10 minutes to get 1 minute, or even an hour to get that 1 minute. So you could put a whole 100 hours into making this pretty top-notch RPG game and play it for 2 or 3 hours and have it beaten. I mean, that's just how it is. And we need to make a game where you're basically trying to hunt down the elusive mini SNES. This is a pretty well-rounded game, and I mean, you could definitely have some fun with this. Even the chat system where you're talking to people, you could set it to be sort of a choose-your-own-adventure path where you talk to them and have choices, or if you talk to them a certain number of times, they'll say something else. And that's something that you know in some games. If you talk to the same person 3 or 4 times, they may have a different speech pattern as they did the first time. But I'm going to do a quick restart on this. And I'll show you the creation tools real fast. Then we're going to move on to another cool game where you can make your own shmup games. And it's a phenomenal game that is one of my favorites on PlayStation 1. So we're going to the creation tools now. So I'm going to edit data, and I have all these different configurations that I could edit. I'll just go to title, for instance. I'm going to change the title screen of my game to a sunset. I'm going to change the beginning music for it. We'll make it an opening. Then we're going to do a preview of it. So that's the intro to my nifty in-progress RPG game that I'm making. So now we're done with that. And I clicked it twice by accident because I'm so used to pushing X to move forward and circle to move back. It's almost counterintuitive. We could go to the event on here. I could create a dungeon. I mean, there's just so many things you can do on this. Parameter names, gameplay edits. See, special attacks off, on, abilities, use of class, magic defense, monster appearance, auto. I mean, we're going to move on to the next game though, but RPG Maker, great game to play. I mean, it has the demonstration. You can make some nifty games, and with my save state video, we'll now have the ability to share save states with each other and try different games out between these two that I'm showing you today. But this other one is called Dezaemon Kids, and it is basically an offshoot in the series that has been out in Japan for decades now, and it never really took off in the United States at all. It's always been pretty much a Japanese thing. But I had a lot of fun with this game too. And it's a 2-disc set. I spent $6 on it on the PlayStation Network. Disc 1 has the creation tools. I got that down to 39.8 megabyte with music intact. Disc 2 has 100 demonstration games. I got that down to 64.1 megabytes intact. And Disc 2 alone, you could play for a good dozen hours. It really is that impressive of a game to play. So I'm going to load that right now. And the creation tools that are on Disc 1 are pretty much what are the culmination of what ends up on Disc 2. Again, this is on the PlayStation Network for PS3, and I bought this the moment it popped up, but I played this years ago as well. And these aren't all like half-assed games. A lot of these really have a lot of effort put into them. These even have some semblance of a cave shooter to a point. So I'm going to go to the game list. We're going to go just to the first game, which has some Japanese kanji type characters. And it almost starts out like Guwanj, if that's how it's pronounced. A really good arcade game that's made by Cave. And this is just one of 100 games on this disc alone. Music intact, as I said. And it's really fun going through these 100 games because a lot of them have gimmicks that really will make you think twice about just the type of thing you're playing for a minute. One's going to really just throw your mind out of whack when I show you it next. But these aren't simplistic shooters either. They actually do have a good gameplay system to them. They're well designed. You can't go up to a boss and just incinerate it easily. I mean, pretty natural game. Good power-up system. So you have a nice power-up right now, and these change between the games. I have a bomb I could use. Got some pretty cool music going for it too. Some authentic Japanese style music. Starting to make me think of an old Kung Fu 1970s TV show with David Carradine. Right before he's about to fight somebody. So anyways, we're going to try another game here. And again, I have to go backwards using the opposite button, which gets a little bit counterintuitive at times. So we're going to do Nightmare next, which is a pretty nifty horror genre type shoot 'em up. So I had a bit of fun playing this one too. I mean, I enjoyed every one of these that I've played out of these 100. And I put a good dozen hours into these over the several years that I've played this game. There are other Dezaemon games as well. There's one on Nintendo, but I'm not sure how well it would function on the mini Nintendo because of the creation of the save state file usually goes corrupt on a lot of emulators, so probably wouldn't parlay as well into making a game and saving it. But there's also a Dezaemon on Saturn, there's a Dezaemon on Nintendo 64. But out of all the ones I played, I'd say Dezaemon Kids on PlayStation 1 and Dezaemon Plus on PlayStation 1 are the ones you want to play. And I'm going to rip Dezaemon Plus as well, but here's Dezaemon Kids, both discs on here. You can make your own games with disc 1, and disc 2 has all these nifty 100 demonstration games, which are all fun to play. And another thing you might think of is when the PlayStation 1 originally came out, there was a development kit that was pseudo-made to the public for a couple $1,000s. Nowadays it retails for about $38,000 if you get lucky enough to even find one. But for the most part, if you played Little Big Planet and Trials creation tools, it's a lot like the Urus that was on PlayStation 1. And even these bosses that I'm fighting here, they have good patterns and styles. They're not just simplistic, just there waiting for you to bombard them with things. I mean, this is a pretty good boss battle. I'm going to go to another game here. And we're going to do one that has a little bit of a gimmick, and your mind goes a little bit wacky trying to process what you're seeing for a split second here. It's called Side, and there's a reason it's called Side, as you will see in a second. The entire screen is sideways. I mean, you gonna play this way, or are you gonna tilt your head? I mean, you gotta look, the enemies are coming out of the background in 3D. This is pretty amazing. The music's real catchy. Some good Genesis style music here. I could easily see this happening on the Genesis system. Anyways, this is Dezaemon Kids Disc 2.